Okay, now let's dig in deeper about these concepts. First is triangle midsegment. A midsegment a midsegment is a segment that connecting the midpoints of two sides. So that should be midpoints of the two sides of the triangles. So in this example, we have segment DE, right? As indicated here, that D is a midpoint and E is a midpoint because these two segments are congruent. And if a segment joins the midpoints of two sides of a triangle, then the segment is called then the segment is parallel to the third side and half as long. So it's parallel and half as long. So if I use this example above, I would say DE, segment DE is parallel to AC. And also DE is half as long as AC. Or you can also write it in this way. This midsegment times 2 equals the length of the other side. So remember, this one is called triangle midsegment theorem, okay? You have to remember the name of this theorem. And again, this theorem is specifically in relation to triangles midsegment. So if I have a triangle midsegment, I have a pair of parallel lines, and the midsegment is half as long as the other side. We're going to use it later in this chapter for proofs again. So this is very challenging in this part because it's really a lot of information. I'm not trying to intimidate you, but I want to give you the study guides so that you know how to study and how to focus on. So this unit, again, is vocabulary intensive, but luckily the vocabularies always give you a hint. And this one is about triangle midsegment. And if you do enough homework, enough practices, at the end of the chapter, those proofs are not going to be too challenging. But if you get these confused, they will be more challenging than what they appear. Okay, so let's look at some examples here. Question number 1: identify all pairs of parallel segments. So it is clear that let's see, I've got purple here, like purple. X is a midpoint, W is a midpoint, and Y is a midpoint. So XW, YW, and XY are all mid-segments. So they are parallel to one of the sides, XY, right? Parallel to QS. And what's the third one? WY is parallel to QR. Okay, so that's it. And let's see. Let me do number 4. If by the way, remember to pause the video and finish the ones that I don't model here because they're very similar to the problems that's given. So make sure that you have enough practice. When you finish number 3, let's turn the video back on and let's do number 4. If F, G, H are midpoints of the sides C, D, E. So as soon as you see that, let's mark it up. So if F is here, G is here, and H is here. So they are all mid-segments. FG is 9, and GH is 7, and CD, which is the whole length from here to here. Notice how I notate them. Okay, this tells me the length goes from the top to the bottom of CD. So then I have to find each measure. So CE has to be twice as long as GH. So it's 2 times GH, which gives me, is that 7 times 2 is 14. DE, where's DE? DE is twice as long. The mid-segment associated with DE is GF, and that's 9. So 2 times 9 is 18. And finally, FH. FH is the mid-segment of, that's half as long as CD. So that should be 12. Okay, but if I have to calculate the parameter, I have to find all 3 sides first, right? Which I did. So in this case, I have 24, I'm going to write it down here, plus 14 plus 18. So I should have 56 to be exact. Okay, so that's really it. And we can also throw a little bit of algebra in there. If you do number 5, find the value here, you notice that by the way, you cannot just assume that these are mid-segments. You can draw the conclusion that this line here, this purple line here, is mid-segment because of all of these blue tick marks, right? It's given to you that's the mid-segment. So you can say 7x should equal 1/2 of the sides, 17x minus 18. Then you multiply 2 on both sides. You should have 14x equals 17x minus 18. And if you do your algebra, it looks like that's going to be 3x. So finally, x is going to be 6. Okay, number 6 is exactly the same. The mid-segment is already given. Then you set up the equation using the mid-segment theorem, triangle mid-segment theorem. Okay. I will, so again, pause the video and continue with 7 and 8. And right now I will do 9 with you. So come back after you finish 7 and 8. Number 9, if MN, NO, and MO are mid-segments. So we know if they're mid-segments, M and O are midpoints, so these are my congruent segments. Find the parameter of the triangle. So I have to know the 3 sides first. So let's see, where do I start? I probably will start with NO. Since NO is 42, I would know KJ is 2 times 42. Gives me 84. And that's by triangle mid-segment theorem. I also have 49 at MN, so I know JL equals 2 times 49, which is 98. Now finally, the third segment is a little bit challenging, but I know that KL, which is 13x minus 10, should equal twice as long as MN, which is 6x minus 1. And if you do your algebra, I think, can I do this with mental math? It will be, I can't. It's easier if I just write it out. So my x comes out to be 8. If my x is 8, be very careful. It's not my final answer. If my x is 8, I have to plug it back in. So my KL equals 13 times 8 minus 10. That would give me what? That would give me 94, right? Is my math right? So now I finally add the 3 parts together. KJ plus KL plus JL. So I should have 84 plus 94 plus 98. Is that right? That's 200, oops, 94 here. That's 200 minus this plus 84. So that should give me 276 is the final answer. Okay, so No tricks, just recognize the mid-segment theorem, find the relation of, recognize the mid-segments, find the relationship that it's half as long of the sides, or conversely, the sides are twice as long as the mid-segments, then you're all good. I think this is on this next page too. Not quite. All right, I'll just do this here. It's fine. I'm going to move it down a little bit. Let me do number 10. Find the measure of each missing angle. This is, you're going to use the information from the other half, the other information that's given by the mid-segment theorem. Remember, we've been practicing that mid-segment is half as long as the sides, but it's also parallel to the sides. So if I have this triangle here, you notice that this mid-segment here, this blue line is parallel to this side. So if it's parallel, I have angle 1 and angle 2 being corresponding angles. Corresponding angles must be congruent, right? So I don't know what that is. I don't know what angle 1 is. I don't know what angle 2 is, but it's given 127 here. So 127 and angle 2 are supplementary. So angle 2 is 180 minus 127, which should give me 53 degrees. Okay, again, this angle 2 is supplementary to the angle of 127 because they add up to a straight line. Now if I know angle 2, I know the corresponding angle, angle 1, must be 53 degrees. For the same reason, I also know this angle is 59 degrees, and this angle and angle 4 are corresponding angles. They must be congruent. And if I know angle 4, I must know angle 5 because they're supplementary, they're a linear pair, and angle 5 would be 121. Now you can use the last one, triangle angle measure for angle 3. You can use the small triangle or you can use the large triangle. It doesn't really matter, right? So if you use 180 minus angle 2 minus angle 4, you should have 68 degrees. So that's how you see that in this unit, you're just learning mid-segment theorem, but it's already connecting with what we learned in chapter 4 about these parallel lines, and the parallel lines are superbly helpful. So finish 11 and 12 and 13 and 14. They're all fairly similar. The 12 and 13 and 14 has a little bit of algebra in it. So, but they're exactly the same way. By now, you should be very good at setting up the equations with your algebra skills. I want to do the last one with you just really quickly. This is not any harder than the previous one. So, but you do need to see that U is the midpoint and V is the midpoint because of these congruent segments. Therefore, UV is the mid-segment. If the mid-segment is given, then I know I'd have two additional pieces of information. Either it's about the length of the mid-segment or about the mid-segment being parallel. And in this case, because I'm asked to find the angle, right? RTV is this angle here. So because I'm asked to find the angle, then I'm going to use the fact that these two lines are parallel, because this angle and this angle are same side interior angles or consecutive angles. So consecutive interior angles. So they must be supplementary. So if I just add these two angles together, they must equal 180. And I should have 16x there. I'm 16x. I should have, let's see. Right here, I should have 7x equals 175. So x should be 25. Once I find x being 25, I can calculate the angle measure of RTV, which is 25 plus 4 gives me 29 degrees. That's my final answer there. Okay? So again, a quick reminder that a lot of times some of you just stop there once you find the x. Always goes back to double check what are you asked to do. If you only finish x, you can get full credits. All right, guys, this is quite a lot. So good luck with it, and it's not too hard yet. Actually, none of this stuff is hard if you understand it, but it's really important that you see the connections, you see the relationships, and use the previously learned information to help you solve new problems. All right, have a good day. Take care.